TUFF SHIFT. Hello, world, and welcome to another episode of TUFF SHIFT, the podcast that unpacks all that goes into surviving the job and living the dream. I am your host, Sean Patrick Murtagh, and ooh, baby, remember last week when I said let's rip the Band-Aid and just get these early morning interviews out of the way so that way I'm used to it? Well, still not used to it, but I'm happy to be awake and interviewing who I'm interviewing today, which we'll get to that very soon, because they are an amazingly talented individual that I just happen to adore. But before we get to them, we got a pre-shift to do, all right? And welcome to the pre-shift. We are going to start this week's episode off by shouting out some pretty amazing people. I know some phenomenal talents out there who are doing wonderful things with their gifts, and I want you to know about it. I want you to find them for yourselves. So first of all, this is one of my best friends in the world. We have known each other since we were little kiddos, and we met because she was doing Oliver with my mom. I chickened out of going to the audition, so I didn't do that show because I was afraid. But but she came into my life at that time and has never left. And she is releasing an album called Chain of Love, a Broadway album. It is out today, which is today. This is being recorded August 15th, and if you're listening to this when this episode is out, I will be driving back from San Francisco because I'm going up there for the album release. I listened to it this morning and I'm just blown away by her epic talent. And it features so many, she's very generous with her talents and bringing people together to share their talents and giving them the spotlight. So this album is a collaboration in part with the Lamplighters Theater, which is a theater operetta company in San Francisco, dedicated to Gilbert and Sullivan, and they've been doing it for 78 seasons. And Carly has been a staple there for many years. And interestingly enough, she was in Connecticut doing HMS Pinafore not too long ago. She was playing Buttercup, and now she's wrapping up her run. So this is all the album release is on the heels of her run at Lamplighters, again in HMS Pinafore, but as Sir Joseph. The joys of being a contralto, I guess. She is phenomenal and just amazing for a queer person to be able to step in, a queer person in opera, to be able to step into these roles and have that range and create and tell their story. It's phenomenal. And this album is phenomenal. It's available streaming wherever you stream. You can buy it wherever you buy it. You can go to carlyozart.com. That's Carly. And Ozart is OZARD.com, and you can find out where you can purchase the album. Just listen to it. It's stunning. If you love Broadway, if you love big voices, if you love talented people, you will love this album. Next up, Richard Skipper, friend of the podcast, friend of the pod. That's the saying. I got to be cool. I'm trying to be cool. Is coming back to the Laurie Beachman Theater in New York City this Friday, August 22nd. And he is bringing back his show, Everything You Wanted to Know About Richard Skipper, but were too afraid to ask. Why are you so afraid to ask? He's an open book. You can look him up on YouTube, anywhere. You look up Richard Skipper Celebrates, and you can find out all the amazing things he has done in his career, from being one of the premier Carol Channing impersonators and now kind of shifted into this historian of Broadway, of the golden age of Broadway, and specifically the world of Hello, Dolly. And the show he's doing is interesting because you can scan a QR code when you get to the show, and you can upload a question. You can write it down on a piece of paper, and he does his show. He does, songs that are previously scheduled and all that, and then he answers the questions live in the show. So it's a completely new show for every audience, and you could literally ask him anything, and Richard Skipper is so charming. He will find the most engaging way and thoughtful way to answer your question, and you're like, I never knew I needed to know that, but now I'm glad I know that. He is such a dear friend and a dear heart and a lovely talent. So go to the Laurie Beachman Theater at the West Bank Cafe in New York City. You can go to wbcnyc.com to get your tickets. And I believe the discount code is RSC 2025. That RSC, Richard Skipper Celebrates, condensed down. Go see it. You will be glad you do. And finally, Leanne Marie Dobbs, another friend of the pod, who was recently on talking about her upcoming show. Well, it's here. It's here. It's the day of the show or whatever. That I never really watched that movie. I know everyone's like, you haven't seen Waiting for Guffman? I think I saw it once, but everyone, it was a long time ago, and everyone was like kind of ruining it for me as it was going on because they were like looking to see if I thought it was funny. And it, I don't really remember seeing it. Anyways, that's not part of the story. So Leanne Marie Dobbs, Windmills of My Mind, a tribute to Dusty Springfield, is going to be at Feinstein's at the Nico in San Francisco this Saturday. This is a phenomenal show featuring all of the entire catalog of Dusty Springfield's hits and her covers, and kind of exploring how Leanne discovered that she has windmills in her mind, which is significant to or reminiscent, meaning she has ADHD. And watching old interviews of Dusty Springfield and be like, hold on a second, I recognize that spinning brain. And it's a lovely love letter to Dusty Springfield and an exploration for Leanne into figuring out how to make all these things work as a creative person, as a person in this very linear world. And there's just some amazing singing going on. I've known Leanne a long time, and this is some of the best singing I've heard her do. I saw her do it last year at the Catalina Jazz Club here in LA and San Francisco. Get to the Nico. Get to the Nico August 23rd. Go to feinsteinssf.com and get your tickets today. All right? That's all I have to say about the talented people in my life that I just freaking adore. So now let's talk some shop. Let's talk about recently I took a catering shift for a company that I don't usually like to work for. I have my favorite catering company. I have catering companies that I'm indifferent to, and then there's this one, which I don't understand why you go into a business that you apparently you seem to hate, right? Like, I mean, I fucking hate working in hospitality, but I put on my face. I put on my hospitality face. I don't make it my coworkers' problems. I don't make it the guest problem. I don't make it the manager's problem. It's not there. I'm the one that chose to be here, right? I'm the one that chose to take this job, and I'll hate it and I'll talk shit about it, and I'll start a podcast about what I hate about this industry, also what I love about this industry. Um, but the thing about this catering company specifically, and it's no reason why. I mean, it's no surprise why they seem to be like losing contracts and don't really have their own events, but have kind of become like a staffing company for other catering companies. Because every time I get a gig from them, it's to staff another catering company's event that they don't have enough staff for. And I was like, I don't like working for them, but I have the night off. I could use the money. And hey, I got a podcast. I could use some anecdotes. So I was ready to go to this shift to like kick ass, take names, and just look at, we'll just call him Ernie. That's not his name, but look at Ernie in the face and be like, fuck you, dude, da 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 da, which I wouldn't say that to him. His name is yeah, we'll just call him Ernie because it's close enough to his real name. And I don't get him. I don't get him. When I interviewed there, he was sweet as pie, the nicest guy, singer, does all these things. Like really, we truly vibed on being performers and being in hospitality. And then I got to my first shift, and just I was hit with stank face. I just like literally, and every time I've run into him since, he's just kind of aggressive and dismissive and rude, just rude, not just to me, but to everybody. And it's like, what happened? Like, what's your deal? Like, you don't have to be here. I don't have to be here. And I don't have to, that's why I don't really pick up shifts because they're just like, they're assholes. And then we'll call the other guy Raymond because that's close enough to his name without being his name, is also just this like old queen who's very condescending. And it's like, this is not Drag Race. We are not in the workroom. I don't need the shade. I don't need the shade of it all because it's not funny. It's not helpful. And it's like, why are you guys so awful to your staff that's coming here? Like, we're all in this together. Like, us coming to work creates work for you, which creates work. It's just, it's a circle where we're all supporting each other. And it's just like, okay, XYZ Catering, because that's close enough to its real name without saying its name. What is going on with you guys? I'm here to take notes. So I show up to this shift. I'm ready. I am ready to be beaten down. And I get up to that table to check in, and it's the nice one. The one nice person on staff with this company is there checking people in. And I was like, oh, it's good to see you, but I was actually hoping for a shitty shift. And it was relatively uneventful. It was pretty easy. I have nothing to really complain about. Everyone was kind of good. We got the job done. It was a straightforward shift. There was one shitty bartender, but he's always shitty. And as I was kind of like looking up, like, what can I talk about this bartender being shitty? I'm like, he's actually not interesting enough to talk about, which I think is more interesting. And yeah, we got through the shift, and just because it was easy doesn't mean there wasn't some hard work involved. It was a little crazy in that, so it was a 6 hour shift, and it was 2 hours to set up, 2 hours for the event, which was like, that's super easy. And then 2 hours to break down the bars. It was at the Grammy Museum, and there's 3 floors of museum and then a rooftop. And I was bar backing this shift. And so that was just like setting up 5 satellite bars and getting those big ice bins, 9 of them, like, those red buckets that are at like every summer barbecue, like 9 of those, filling those with ice. And clearly things can't just be a walk in the park. The ice machine on site was not producing enough ice, and the backup ice machine was broken. So we had to go to the hotel next door to get ice from them, fill up 9 of those, and transport them between 4 floors and 5 different bars. It physically, I woke up the next day completely sore, like everything, my head, my neck, my back, my shoulders, my legs, everything was throbbing and sore and just absolutely ridiculous. And I, of course, being the hero that I am, they're like, do you want to work on the rooftop and bar back for the 2 bars there, or do you want to be in charge of the 3 bars on floor 2, 3, and 4? And of course I'm like, oh, I can do anything, I'm strong, I'll take the 3 bars. And because it was like a well-attended event, the elevators were backed up with guests. So it was like, just take the stairs. Babies, I looked because I was so sore. I was so tired. In those 2 hours of the event, going up and down those 3 flights for the bars, and then going up that extra flight to the 5th floor, which everything I needed, from citrus to juices to product to ice, more ice. Everything I needed was there. So I'm just going up and down these 4 floors of stairs. That I looked the next day. I clocked 5 miles in that 6 hour shift. I, baby, it just goes to show not all heroes wear capes. Some of us wear black bistro aprons and don fancy mustaches. Speaking of fancy mustaches, today's guest has a fancy mustache and is fancy themselves. Literally one of the most talented individuals I have ever come across. It literally, in everything they do, I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm like, from their core, they just ooze talent and seem to be good at so many things. They are funny. They are a voice, just the most beautiful tenor, gorgeous golden voice that, whether it's doing, late night serenades on their Instagram stories, or performing on stages in New York, Los Angeles, on cruise ships around the world, serving looks on Instagram too. Just, I mean, what are those called? Those thrift shop finds. I mean, gorgeous gowns, and just absolutely hilarious person as well. Just seems to like have their finger on the pulse of what is going on social media, and has something to actually contribute to that, to make social media a fun place to be and witness amazing human beings. They have done shows like Mary Poppins, The Wizard of Oz, Elf, Beauty and the Beast, worked for Disney Cruise Lines, just literally a phenomenal human being who has a show coming up in New York City on September 3rd. It is, what was it? New York's first one act double feature. Everything they say and do just makes me laugh. It just tickles me. The show is called My Whole Self. And whole is spelled not how you think, maybe how you think it is. I don't know. I can't wait to unpack this with them and introduce you to the amazingly talented, phenomenal, funny, wonderful human being that is Morgan Reynolds.
Wow, I need to come on this show every day. Come on, talk about that ramp up. Whoa, I just thank you for all of those compliments.
Of course, it never gets old, like hearing people have that reaction, be like, we know how phenomenal you are. And even though like I'm always responding to your stories or commenting how much talent I think resides in your one being, it's nice to hear them back. And so that's one of my favorite parts about this show is singing the praises. Like, this is all stuff you can find on the internet about yourself. But are you really Googling yourself that much? Are you really looking in the mirror and saying, I am a phenomenally talented human being? Maybe not. So that's my job.
Sometimes I think sometimes it's nice to look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself affirmations and whatnot. Have I done that before? Yeah, hell yeah. Usually I'm late night, half an edible in, talking to myself in the mirror, but maybe I'll try it the other way around this time.
Yeah, right? Very, what's that show? How to Succeed in Business. I believe in you. Um, so, welcome to the show. And I want to start the way we start every show. And I want to know, Morgan Reynolds, what was your gateway job into being the stereotypical actor, server, surviving it all in hospitality while trying to make the dream come true?
You know what? I feel like I got lucky. So I moved to New York in 2000, oh God, 10, 10. And within 2 weeks, I had a job that I found on Playbill, through the jobs tab, and I was a bartender at Studio 54, for Roundabout. So my first show that I fully bartended for was the revival of Cabaret with Alan Cumming and Michelle Williams, and it was honestly the best job I ever had,
Mm,
period, maybe. Because not only was the money incredible, because it's a highly drinking show, it's
yeah.
fun, it's cabaret, and people are ordering bottles and all the things. But we were costumed by William Ivy Long, and I was shirtless, and we were in
Oh,
Studio
as a bartender?
54. Yes.
You got costumed
Um,
by William Ivy Long. That is phenomenal.
I mean, it was quote unquote immersive, right? Because they
Hmm.
redesigned the bottom floor of the theater to have cabaret tables, and we opened an hour early, and all the jazz. So it was kind of a bit of a special, angel in this, in the actor hustle life, because we were actually having fun while doing the jobs,
Yeah.
and it was unconventional, and yeah, I got really lucky, I think, and did that for off and on for, I guess, 3 years, and I saw Emma Stone go on as Sally Bowles, and then oh, and it's going to be so bad because I'm not going to remember who the last Sally Bowles was, but do you know who it was?
I don't remember who it was, but I don't think they listened to the show, so I think we're
You know what?
okay.
Then there we go. Then there we go.
They don't remember us
So
either.
yeah, truly. So it was a good time. It was a good time. And then from there, I mean, I did go into bartending other Broadway shows. It wasn't as magical as Cabaret,
Yeah.
obviously, and I have a pretty tight friend group still to this day that we all had worked that job together. So I think it was it's a testament to that it was something special because we've now, you know, ran decades as a tight knit friend group.
That's one of the gifts that come from this hospitality is you make friends and you meet people because you survive these shifts, you survive interesting customers together, and you're just bonded for life. Whether you text each other every day or whatever, you survive something together. And I don't mean to relate it to like people who are actually survivors of trauma and stuff like that, but we're survivors of something together, and that bond can't be broken. It's one of like the best gifts. Now, as wonderful as it was bartending these shows and getting to see like be a part of Broadway magic, which people, it's not just the people on stage, it's the people running the curtains, it's the people taking your tickets, it's the people serving you drinks between shows. That is all part of what makes Broadway Broadway. So that's pretty magical that you got that experience. But I'm sure there's a tough shift or two involved in this that you probably could share with us.
Oh God, let me tell you. I mean, well, so I'll pivot and say after Cabaret, it was hard to find that magical unicorn again within the bartending for theater type of business, which I will say was one of the best things for a working actor or a hustler in New York because I had my days free. So
Yeah.
I could audition during the day and then, go bartend a Broadway show at night, make some quick cash, and then be done in time for me to, go to bed early and hit the ground running the next day. But um, I went to bartend at Aladdin after Cabaret, and I'm going to tell you right now,
Um,
it's a tough one. Um, you know, just because it's not a drinking show, it's a family show, and so you're not really making the kind of cash or money that you expected at maybe a different show. But
yeah.
one of the hardest shifts that I'll always go back to, regardless of the theater and regardless of the job, is right before I moved to New York, I worked at Disneyland and was a part of the original cast and opened a show at California Adventure called Red Car Newsboys, which was a truncated newsies show. Um, and it was union and amazing, and we had this incredible time. And then moved to New York and obviously became a bartender. And so you're like, what am I doing? Like that dichotomy there, it really got whiplash. But I'm bartending in the basement of the New Amsterdam in the VIP room one day, and a friend of mine walks in who I just did the Newsy show with, a couple months prior. And I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing here? And he's like, "Oh, I'm now swinging the show. I'm just gonna rehearse here in the basement to the live feed so that I could, get off track." And he's like, "What are you doing here?" And I was like, "Oh, I mean, I'm in the blacks, ready to bartend." I was like, "I'm, bartending the lounge today," and it was kind of like a really tough shift for not the reasons you might think of like a tough customer or something, but it was the reality of this business and like, oh, we were literally singing and dancing on Main Street together, getting paid sick money. And then a couple months later, I'm making $40 behind the bar and he's on the Broadway stage that is on top of us. So I think there's there's so many different reality checks within our business that sometimes, you know, I had to look inside and see that somebody else's success does not diminish my own and all of the things that make you rethink your current situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that might, that one stands out still as like a learning experience for me and one of those shifts that you're just like, my God, am I in the right place at the right time or what's going on here?
Yeah, very humbling, and like I just it's which is a huge part of this industry everywhere you look. Is staying humble and being humbled, whether it's during an actual shift, whether it's between shows. and it's not always an easy pill to swallow, because it's like I mean, it's literally like every song about Broadway, says, or not every song, I'm still here, basically. Like, one day you're high and the next day you're low, and that's show business. And just because you're without a job now does not mean you're without the talent to be in a show, which is part of why I started this podcast, to just really put some respect to the person behind the apron and be like, yes, today I'm at the New Amsterdam Theater, but I was just here doing this, and I still have that. I have these awards, I have this resume, you can't take away from me. So, yes, I'll get your fucking water, but I need you to know who you're fucking talking to, right? I had one coworker who just had a table from hell, that was just being so condescending, so fucking rude. And he told me, and this is kind of stuck out to me when I was like putting the show together. I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck that guy does, but I know whatever he does, I am more trained and more skilled in what I do. I have put more hours at the bar, the ballet bar. I have put more hours into my voice. I am more educated and trained in my industry than that guy is in whatever he is. So he really needs to check his attitude, because he doesn't know what the fuck I'm capable of. And I was like, damn. That's some real shit, and it stuck with me to be like, don't let these people walk over you. Don't let these people treat you like trash. You have to remind yourself of all the amazing things that you do and what you're doing this job for. Um, and even when you come and you show up to a table and it's like, hey, you're my friend that we were doing this together, and now I'm still here. It's like, but I'm still here. I'm still here making the dream work. I'm glad you got a show. I'm really glad you got a show. But yeah, I get how that could be difficult to be with and sit with. And probably just, I mean, it's one of those things that just builds character. I hate saying that shit, but it does. And it's like, this is the reality of the show business, and I still want to do this, so I'm still going to do this. Now, you mentioned, I know that you love theme parks, apparently.
Well, I grew up in California, so um I think I Disney and Knott's and all and theme parks was in my backyard. And so I worked at Disney starting at 16 years old. I was still in high school as a character. And then I think throughout my life, I've always kind of been drawn back to themed entertainment
Mm,
and I guess theme parks in specific, because that was the first entertainment I ever saw. My first stage show was a theme park show.
yeah.
As somebody who didn't have, I didn't go to New York until I moved there, and we didn't have the money to go to the Pantages all the time and see touring shows and whatnot. So that was the entertainment I could connect with.
Yeah, and working in theme parks is it's hospitality as well. So what are some of the things that carried over from your experience in theme parks to then bartending? And did you ever do like anything else? Did you do like catering or do restaurant work? Or was it
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like I was a server at the Spaghetti Factory, at the Ruby Tuesday.
oh
Is
my
that still
God,
there? Is that still
Southern
in New York?
California. Wait, Ruby Tuesdays? I thought that was a
Yeah, I
here
think
thing.
rest in peace. No, I
Oh,
I worked at the one in Times Square. I think it's gone now. I think it left over uh COVID maybe.
oh, interesting.
It was on 41st. Um Second
Yeah, a lot of
floor.
New York is different. A lot.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes, no,
and
that's no longer there for sure. I think it's Red Lobster now,
oh,
maybe
maybe.
something like that. Yeah. Oh, so you've done it all. Like you've done everything you
I
can
did the
in New York.
catering. Yeah, I did. I was a tour guide of Greenwich Village. Uh, I did. I worked for a singing telegram um, company. Like
Adorable.
did it all back in the
Yeah.
day for New York. Which, sometimes I look back and I'm like, how did I do that? Right? Like living in the city, and you had a million odd jobs to make it work, but then would like leave for a couple of months to do a contract somewhere and then come back and pick it all up. Uh, I don't know. It almost feels like a bit of a dream, in the sense of I don't know how I could do that today.
Yes.
Almost push it. I don't know. it feels the world has changed since then. So
Yes.
and there is a magic in New York that just like makes it happen, right?
I- 100%. I tell people there is an energy in New York. New York keeps you honest. You're either going to sink or you're going to swim. There's no in between. And I became a much better singer, a much better actor, so much better in every area of my life because everyone coming there, the baseline is good. Everyone
Yeah.
is the star of their hometown. Everyone, the baseline is good. So you just have to keep working on getting better. And like, I just you rise to the occasion, and there's just something magical about New York that when you think about all that, working through, snowstorms, working through torrential downpours, working through hurricanes, like all the things we survive in New York, and it's like to think about it, the anxiety, I would just have anxiety, like this is what your day is going to be like today. You can't look at it that way. You just do it, and then you look back and like, how did I get through that? Like, it's New York. You just do. And it was kind of like when I came to LA, I always say like I had anxiety about not having anxiety. I just didn't know. It was so relaxing. It was so
Mm.
calm and chill that I'm like, why is the world like why is it so relaxing? And it's like that's interesting. What was it that when did you decide that you'd done New York? I did New York, I did it well, and now it's time to come back to LA.
Well, you know, I was kind of working in and out of New York, right pre-COVID, and my dad, got a little bit sick. I'm not gonna go into that story because it's a little
Hmm.
sad one, but um, so I decided that I needed to move home. I needed to move back to California to just be around my family. My entire family is here, and spent over a decade in New York and then on the road and out of a suitcase. And I just thought, okay, this is the time to make a change so that I could, find some personal growth and some family growth. And so moved kind of right before COVID, actually, which also is a wild situation. But um, yeah, and really changed my whole life. I'm now for the last, 4 years have been working for a location-based entertainment design firm, and which is where my love for theme parks comes in. Primarily working for um, theme park builds and attraction builds for a very large magical IP. That's all I'll say there. And then
Hmm.
and and yeah, it so but that also gave me the respite for my own uh personal journey as a performer to be able to now come back to my love for goodbye for performing. And um and so I think it was, now I can enjoy it and I can be challenge myself to be authentic on stage, which was something that I couldn't find in New York or with the industry at the time that I was in it.
Wonderful. And so that is the move to LA. Did that also facilitate you leaving the industry, the hospitality industry? Or do you still pick up
Uh,
the bistro apron every now and then?
I am a full-time 9 to 5 or corporate girly at this point. Um, but I would say that working in the hospitality industry and working as, a server, a waiter, a tour guide, you name it. I sold renewable energy in the fucking basement of a Best Buy in Chelsea for a while. Um, I think all of that has helped cultivate my skills to work in a corporate industry, but challenge the normality of what that means and also the guest service that I could offer internally
Yeah.
and externally to clients. So I do think that I'm better today for it.
Hey there, just checking in. I hope you're enjoying this episode so far. And if you are, why not leave us a 5-star review and a comment or two wherever you're listening to this from? And don't forget to follow us on social media at TUFF SHIFT Podcast. That's TUFF Shift Podcast everywhere.
literally everywhere. And just a reminder, gratuity's not included, but tips are always welcome. And you can find our virtual tip jar at tuffshiftpodcast.com. That's TUFF shift podcast.com. All right, back to the show.
Yeah, wonderful. You know what's funny about this show is I always say I have a laundry list of things, and the outline for your show. There's just so many things I want to unpack with you, but it goes down this path, whatever it is, and you just like knocked off 5 things from the list. You just like intuited it, and it literally, I want to know like what about this industry has been beneficial in your life and all that. So thank you for intuiting that. And I want to switch over to you, the performer, and so people understand why I say like literally find Morgan online. Do you know how you came into my feed, like my realization of you as an existence? Do you know how I came across you and then immediately became a fangirl?
I no, I mean, because I've known you for some time now, so I don't know. I don't know. No.
So you did. Uh, there was a Super Bowl ad with I think Zoe Kravitz, and it was like a beer commercial, and it was like ASMR.
Oh, that's right.
And it was just like this weird commercial that was super quiet in the middle of a very loud Super Bowl, which, if people don't know, I love the Super Bowl. I don't love sports, but I love the Super Bowl. I host every year, I have a Super Bowl party, and it's like you can talk during the game, but you cannot talk during the halftime show. We're not going to dissect the halftime show in real time. We're going to we're going to respect the performers as if we're there, and you're not going to talk during the commercials. So that's and I'll put out a big spread for you. Just follow the rules. And that commercial just like kind of took over like our culture, and it was just like ASMR was everywhere. And all of a sudden, there is this person on my Instagram with Broadway celebrities doing ASMR interviews at Shetler Studios. And I don't know what about it tickled me so much, but I immediately was like, I need to follow this human being. I need to be their friend. I need to support and cheer them on for everything they do. Where do you get the inspiration to create? Because you create a lot of different things. You have a lot of pots stirring. It seems to me, and you manage it so well.
I mean, thank you. My God, I haven't thought about that in so long. And Shetler Studios, rest in peace. Pour one out for
R.I.P.
Shetler. Um, but I think I just like to create, and obviously, like I put that one down. Broadway ASMR, also kind of rest in peace. Um, but I was just doing it as a joke at first, for my friends because we do live in a very niche industry, and I love niche humor. I think that's
Yeah,
because it's so special and there's intimacy with that. And then I was like, I should actually do this. So I started filming it and then just reaching out to tertiary Broadway friends and being like, hey, Matt Doyle, will you come meet me at Ripley Greer and sit with me for an
Tony
hour? And
Award winning Matt Doyle.
Tony Award winner. Very sweet also. But and we just and so I just that's kind of how that started. Um, and yeah, did that for a while just to like have shits and giggles and find a different avenue, right? Of as a performer or as an artist or whatever, I think you have many things to say over your life, and how you express them is going to be different in each era that you're in. Or,
Hmm.
not to sound like a Swiftie, which I know she's releasing a new album today, I believe. But each era that you're in, I want to express something different. And I don't know why at that time it was ASMR and but that's what it was. So yeah, it was a fun time.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did it because I have then been following and just like I said, from the looks to everything, just you keep us entertained, and we need things that like lift our hearts. So thank you for doing that. And I want to talk about some of the things you got going on and some of the things you've done. You recently did Joseph, back in like your home theater, right?
Yeah. So, I haven't really performed and for a while, obviously, because I'm working a 9 to 5 and it gets a little tough with that. But I thought I started to think, oh, I want to perform again. I want to find that joy in a different way because now um, I'm able to kind of maybe look at who I am as a performer a bit differently.
Hmm.
And the opportunity came up asking if I would come play Joseph at a theater that I started at, my first professional show, actually. And under one condition that I came and did the role as how I perceived Joseph to be. And and they agreed to that, which when I say how I
Wonderful.
perceive Joseph to be is, um, I'm a very open, non-binary person in this industry. And I think it was really tough. I didn't have those words. I don't think the industry
Mm,
had that lexicon when I was in New York. And I was still me and still making choices like that at that time, but it was not accepted. Um, and so I recently have been trying to create art that will allow me to be fully authentic on
mm,
stage. And so that was a really profound opportunity to not only come back to the stage that I did my first show at, was paid like Skittles, but I was paid,
yeah.
and and then to approach it in a different sense as a new person today, and also challenge the narrative of what we think of Joseph as a person and as a he him, and um, yeah, it was really beautiful. So I think that kind of started a journey for me to relook at who I am as an
Yeah.
artist, just for my personal sense.
That's wonderful because a lot of people assume like it's theater, it's gay, it's queer, it's a safe space for us. But it's kind of a triggering space for if you are, I mean, literally, it is Broadway and theater is built on the backs of gay queer people who our fabulosity, everything that we do, seeing things outside of the box. Yet it's not a safe space to be because we have to then turn that around for the straighter audiences. And so, it's I'm sure you've been in situations where you're in a chorus, you're in an ensemble, and it's like butch it up, Marys, butch it up, and it's just like
Oh
the
yeah.
like. And it's in a way that's like, I mean, yeah, butch it up, but it doesn't sound like it's that offensive. But the way that we condescend to each other in this industry and the way that we treat each other and have to mask who we are, and it's like, and just people are ridiculed for being flamboyant, and it's like, I don't believe those sailors were really singing about a dame, da 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 da. And it's like, so do you have any experiences like that you care to share where it's just like, I'm glad that I'm no longer part of that part of the industry, or anything to just contribute to the conversation of like what this industry could do to be a safer space for queer people?
Yeah, it's so tough, right? And I I feel like I've played Carmen Gia and the producers at every regional house in the United States. Because that was my only way of expressing my
Yeah.
queerness in and I was obviously making fun of myself while doing that. And there's nothing wrong with that role, and I actually adore it and had a lot of fun with it. But that's an archetype that we know in our lexicon of American musical theater. But as we progress and as we grow, we're making new archetypes. And I think gender is an archetype because it is a social construct. And that is something I'm trying to normalize of how we look at gender and how we look at archetypes on stage, because we just have to build new ones.
Yeah.
The ones we have grown up with are they're not they're outdated in a sense. They're not wrong, but they're not vast enough
Yeah.
in their emotional complex, emotion and identity. And so I think there were shows. I saw Head Over Heels on Broadway. Their first preview, which was electric because a lot of people, had heard what it was, and it was something very different. And I still think about that show and the energy in that room to this day. It was so magical. I couldn't help myself but like lose it in the finale because they were changing pronouns within, you know, Go-Go's music, and it was one of the most beautiful things I've ever got to witness. But that was so ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Nobody knew how to take that show at that moment, and I believe that's why it closed early. That's why, you know, Bonnie did not get a Tony Award for that, which she should have. And there's so many, you know, and that was just, they paved the way. They paved
Yes.
the way for all of us. They paved the way for Anne Juliet. I don't think they've gotten the credit for that, but um, we're just in a growing period. And so I think artists showing their authenticity, making their own art, and making a different voice, again, will pave the way
Exactly.
eventually.
And you know, I think it's important to like how we gauge success and judge something. It's like, yes, the show closed. Yes, not a lot of people got it, but it was there. And the next show that comes up, and people will bring up like, oh, it's too woke, or it's too this, or it's too that. It's like, then don't go. But it needs to exist because it's very field of dreams. You build it, they will come. Maybe not right away,
Yeah.
but we need to keep producing these shows because the next generation coming up, they're the ones that are taking over this, and they need to see themselves on stage. And so the fact that it exists, the fact that things like the prom, with all the good and bad about it, all controversies around whatever, it existed, and we're creating shows where you can have, with a summer in Ohio, you have all these different stories that it may not last long, it may not be everybody's cup of tea, but it's there, and we just keep showing up and we keep making stories for people. And when the Anne Juliets appear and their long running hits, wonderful. We applaud you, and just know that you stand on the shoulders of all these things that come before you, and you're opening the way for more shows to show up and to be. Now, I know you kind of unpacked this already, but if you feel comfortable talking about like being a non-binary person, and we kind of already unpacked this, but like being a non-binary person in a very binary uh, industry with uh, going back to these shows that are written like man, woman, there are two, it is this, like how do you actually navigate that? If you can just unpack a little more about the Joseph of it all.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still trying to figure out how to navigate that, right?
Yeah.
With Joseph, I just got to show up as I was, right? And um, made certain choices that maybe no one caught. Maybe the audience didn't see that, but it affected the way I approached the character. It affected the way the people on stage interacted with me. It was just showing up differently and
Yeah.
having different conversations. So I was maybe making different choices than what a traditional actor would make, but we were having those conversations and debating that in real time. And I think that goes with casting, that goes with show choices. Um, something that, it's so funny. I was just talking to somebody the other day and they were like, "Oh, what, that question of like, what would your dream role be?" And I said, "Oh, I've been really jonesing lately to play Adelaide or Roxy in Chicago." And I've been trying to pitch it to my hometown theater to be like, "I'm
Yeah.
here, just let me do this." But they're like, "Oh, that's going to be so funny. So you're playing it." And I think we go to the drag queen
Yeah.
because we've seen Kinky Boots and all of these things. And I was like, "No, no, I would play Adelaide as an actress." That's, I think also to give credit to Jinx Monsoon also helping us open that door for queer people and trans people and non-binary people to play different genders, not a commentary on gender, which is what a
Yes.
drag queen might do. And so, you know, I think it's a constant battle and conversation, but that's kind of, not to do my own segue here, but that's where I created my one person show that I'm literally just doing as I have art to say and I'm going to get it out there to no matter who sees it, really, which is really just, going to be my friends, but I am wanting to say something to say something. And
Yeah.
so, creating the show and playing these different roles that might be a little bit more amorphous with gender, I think will eventually help not only me in my personal life, but will start to create a different lexicon within the industry.
Yeah, and I think that's wonderful because that's why I ended up really diving deep into the world of cabaret, the art form, not the show. Just really diving deep because it's like, all right, I can't wait for casting directors to see me. I can't wait for this theater to say, yes, you're it. I can, all these callbacks that lead to nowhere. I need to be on stage and I need to tell my own story until you hire me to tell your story. And it really has been this amazing discovery. I mean, just ultimately with my most recent show, my Sondheim show, which is my tribute to Sondheim's divas, and I call it soft drag because I'm like, I'm not pretty enough to do like to really the illusion. So I'm like, I love my mustache. I got great legs. That look great in fishnets and heels. So like, yes, let me. This is me, and it's hard. Some audiences can be a little simple, like, oh, you didn't shave your legs for the show. I'm like, why? My legs look amazing. Like, I don't need to shave my legs. And like, oh, is it drag? I'm like, no, I call it my soft drag, but like, this is just me. I identify as a man, but I also, I'm built like a gorilla, but I also look great in heels. So it's just like, just let me express myself and wear this caftan and wear this dress and tell you the story. And I think in telling the story and specifically with that show and going on my queer journey with that and demonstrating, which it's not new, people have talked about it before, but like why gay men and queer people are drawn to these divas and the life saving role they play in our lives. I mean, it, people got it, maybe not fully, but it planted a seed. And so I want to talk about your shows, and always be your own segue because I will talk in circles. So please, thank you for keeping me on track. Your shows. This is kind of a combination of two shows you've done, and it's the next evolution of them together. So it's one of my favorite words in the world. So I'm glad, like. I'm glad you had a show. The first one is a streetcar named Faggot.
Correct. Absolutely. And I love saying it as well because, you know, which first of all, I also let me give you the kudos because that's also why I adore you. I don't even think you need to say it's soft drag, right? It's drag.
Yeah.
That is modern drag. And I feel the exact same way as you. And I, you know, it's so hard because I mean, as problematic as maybe RuPaul can be, but I also don't want to diminish the um, power and doors that RuPaul has opened for literally everyone. So but we're all born naked and the rest is drag. It is. Everybody is in drag to some extent, and
And that's
I
funny that
think
you
when
bring
we,
that up because that's RuPaul saying it's all drag.
yeah,
And yet Ru has a very two-dimensional view, slowly
view
opening
of
up,
drag.
the show has evolved, but it was a slow roll to get there because even with drag it's like, no, you are a man dressing up as a woman, and that's what it was, because like that was Ru's experience. So it is opening up. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just wanted to like point that
No,
out, that in itself, yes, there it's beautifully problematic and beautifully imperfect, right? Like just this show that creates this space for us to go to still has room to grow and explore within itself.
which all good art does, right?
Yes.
All good art does. And I think it's all about starting conversations, right? Because somebody that might look at me and be like, "Oh, you're doing drag in your show, and why aren't you wearing a wig?" I get that all the time. Why aren't you wearing a wig? And I'm like, well, I don't want to wear a wig. I'm not wearing makeup. I'm not wearing a wig, but I'm still doing drag. And because drag is a play on gender, drag is a play on, it's a political statement. It is, I mean, it's all the above, you know. And I think creating that kind of art, regardless of how where it goes is just starting a conversation.
Yeah.
So somebody, chipping away at where we were, I don't know, a decade ago. Yeah, so I think it's all momentum. It's all
Yes.
momentum.
Yes, yes, yes. So
Um,
let's get back to the word faggot. Let's get
yeah,
back to the
so
faggotry of it all.
yeah, I mean, so I'm basically retelling the story of Blanche in A Streetcar Named Desire, and um, all of these. It's funny you say, the women, these like strong women that affect us as queer people, and where we find our strength. All my show, my whole self, why I'm I called it that is because I started making these smaller truncated shows that all revolved around me being strong women characters.
Mm.
And then I started to realize that, oh, well, that's how I found my queerness, was watching these strong women in cinema. Uh, and so A Streetcar Named Faggot and Annie is Fancy uses two premises of these two cinematic films that affected me as a child, and telling a narrative of my queer growth through those two vessels, basically. So with The Streetcar Named Faggot, I'm playing Blanche, um, through interacting with Marlon Brando on screen as if I was in the movie myself.
Mm.
And then Annie is Fancy is basically like a queer fever dream, of my experience growing up working in the gay clubs. And so I've kind of sewn those together with an invisible thread narrative of my queerness and where I am today.
And the how does the using thirst in your favor? Because the show, the double entendre of my whole self, Annie is Fancy. I remember there was a red jockstrap involved. Like even going back to working at Studio 54 and being a shirtless bartender. How does the thirst of it all? How do you use that to your advantage, but also hold up boundaries? But like this is me expressing myself, using my body, using my thirst appeal, but also like here's also my boundaries, because some people think a picture of you in a jockstrap is an open invitation to like say untoward things.
Absolutely. Um, you know why I called it my whole self, is in the gay community, right? On Grindr, where you can exchange a whole pic in the first 3 seconds of um, an interaction, and it's funny that as queer people, or uh, we exchange intimacy as the common currency,
Yeah.
because that is something we are not able to exchange in the larger ecosystem of our heteronormative world. And so our whole pics, right, are our most vulnerable sides to ourselves
Yeah.
and our most intimate. And I love, um, kind of putting that to the forefront, and saying I'm going to be intimate, right? I'm
Mm.
going to show my vulnerability, and it might not fit within um, a heteronormative society, but that's how I'm representing my vulnerability within a queer community. And so whether that's me being in a jockstrap and dancing around, taking my body and owning that positively because the world has shut it down, um, but also sharing that, and making other people think differently about how we see intimacy and how we see queerness.
That's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And where, so this show is September 3rd.
September 3rd at the Reverie Room in New York City. It's just a one night only moment, but I'm trying it out. And and trying to see, trying to see what it does for me, because I
Yeah.
think that's about, and not for a show, just me as a person and me in my personal journey of growth, right? Because all art is reclamation. And so why I created this, to just reclaim who I am at this moment, regardless of what happens after September 3rd, and and then I'll keep creating art, because that's the only way that we can move through this difficult time in our existence as humanity, and especially in the United States, and with queer people and repression, and you know looking at gay marriage recently,
Yeah.
topical. It's we have to just reclaim who we are and say we are here, and however we do that will continue to create ripples in this world.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, everything it seems to be tying in so beautifully with this show and things that you said that, like, roles and musical theater and these tropes, these archetypes are outdated because when they stand alone, but even the evolution of, talking about being a gay person or a queer person on the apps like Grindr, like we are just coming around the bend, and it's been how many years? It was 2010 it came out. We're just because we didn't grow up with that. We grew up
Yeah,
on the fly, like in our 20s, learning boundaries that were crossed or getting too involved in it, and then only seeing people for what whole pics they're willing to send, what they're willing to offer, how many hundred of feet away they are, and looking at going to the gym as an opportunity to hook up, and all these things we're learning as a community. That's like not in a shaming way, like wonderful, hoe it up, hoe it out, get paid whatever you need to do to get done, but in a respectful way, and learning
yeah,
about these boundaries and learning to go beyond that. So I just imagine this show is going to be wonderfully impactful. And I think, in my experience, sharing my story and knowing how it impacted people, and not even just like my Diva show, even my Mario Alonso show. Like nobody talks about Mario Alonso enough. I don't think. And then I start, 60 years after his death, I debut my first show, and all of a sudden people are flooding my inboxes with memories of their Nana's kitchen on a Sunday in Mario Alonso, or finding old records in a basement from their grandma's house. Like, so sharing your story and when you're being authentic to who you are and sharing a story that you need the world to hear, the ripple effect of what it frees up in people. So September 3rd, get your asses in New York City to the Reverie Room, which I'm not familiar with this venue. Is it
it's
in near the
brand
Triad?
new.
Is it the Triad
It
rebranded, or?
is.
Oh,
No, it's across the street from the Triad, literally. Um, and it's brand new. I actually think it's really fun and kitschy because it's above a bodega, and you have to go through the bodega to go
oh, right.
upstairs. And it's also a sober venue. And so I'm also obsessed with that, because I don't think you necessarily have to drink to enjoy art, and to be at the theater. So I think it checks a lot of boxes, and I'm really excited.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, is there anything else before I let you get on with your day that you'd like to promote here or like to say as we kind of wrap things up? Where people can follow you, where people can follow this show?
Yeah, my whole B way on Instagram or .com. Feel free to follow along the journey. And I think, yeah, because I got to head to my next corporate meeting literally right now. But I think the last thing I'd love to say is just, let's just be kind to each other,
Amen.
because the world is hard enough.
Amen. And just really quickly before I let you go, I know we're tight. I like to
Please.
end every show with a shout out because we know bad reviews, bad news, all that travels faster and gets much more attention. And good news and good reviews rarely see the light of day. So before you go, who is someone in your experience on stage, behind a bar, or in your corporate world, or in your personal life that has made a tough shift easier for you and you would like to shout out today?
Oh God. This one is a tough one, right? I mean, listen, I'm going to give you some celebration and praise here. I mean, look at you opening the floor and opening conversations that we don't have, or that are hard, difficult to have, and needed, necessary to have. So I think, thanks for having me on today, and thank you for continuing these conversations,
Oh,
because I think it's not only important, but it's helping us find new ways.
thank you. Sincerely, thank you. And now I'm going to say it like I appreciate, but now this is going to be awkward because after the person shares who they'd like to shout out, I say, thank you, Sean Patrick, for all that you do. Clearly, the world needs more people
Yes.
like you. I have to say that about myself. Okay.
You should. You should. Absolutely. Say it to yourself in the mirror.
There we go. There we go. That's you heard it. You heard it here, folks. This has been another episode of Tough Shift. Just remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life. Take care.
Tough Shift was created and hosted by Sean Patrick Murtagh. It was recorded on Riverside and distributed with Buzzsprout. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review and maybe a comment or two. And remember, tough shifts build character, and character is what brings your story to life.